Welcome back, everybody. Today, I have a very special guest, my buddy Jason. We met on Instagram about a year ago or so. Join us in our conversation. Welcome.
Hey, Dustin.
Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's actually the first time I've actually told my story on anything like this. So
that's great, and I really appreciate you being here early on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, no worries.
So let's go ahead and let's start with your origin story, if you will. What got you into keto? What got you into the keto space?
It's a typical growing up in Canada, I guess. I was pretty active as a kid and played a lot of sports like hockey and baseball. And I was actually heavy into judo for, 10 or so years, right up until I was maybe 16 or 17 years old. And then, typical high school years, played sports in high school as well. But then once I got out of school, it was kind of you get your independence and you start doing your own thing, and then you move out on your own, and you think you can just eat takeout every night and, play video games, and it's never going to catch up with you. But then eventually it does. I guess by the time I was almost 30, I was having a lot of digestive issues, and fought with that for quite a few years. Kind of went down the gluten-free road for a few years and felt better, but ultimately I wound up gaining weight eating gluten-free, because then you're eating a lot of like potato and rice and everything else. So you're really not, turns out it really wasn't healthy. It helped, but it wasn't healthy. So then I guess in 2017, my first grandson was born just after I turned 47. So as he grew up and started running around and wanting to play and all that, I found myself barely able to keep up with him and barely able to pick him up. And, I'd gotten up to about 280 pounds at that point. So it was, I knew something had to change, or I was never going to be able to keep up with him as he grew up. So I guess in late 2018, I started seeing things about keto online, and I was watching videos by people like Thomas DeLauer and even Dr. Berg back then. And then I was thinking about trying it out, but I wasn't quite sure. And then I went to a family event on Boxing Day that year in 2018, and one of my cousins, she'd been keto for about a year and had lost a lot of weight, and like she was doing great. So I was like, picked her brain all night and decided at that point I was going to give it a try. So I basically got ready and got everything I needed and started January 1st, 2019. And then stuck with it pretty strict for the first year. I was able to lose about 80 pounds in the first year. Felt great. Like I feel better now than I ever can remember feeling. Like it's the digestive issues are gone. Turns out it was all the sugar and processed crap that I was eating, not the gluten that was causing the issue. And then I guess fast forward to now, it's still just my way of life. I don't really think about it too much, and I've probably gained 10 or 15 pounds back from my lowest weight, but I think my body wasn't really happy because I got under 200 pounds at one point, and it just never really sat well with me being that at that weight. So where I'm now, it's just the way I feel best, and I just live with it every day, I guess. So yeah, and then we met on Instagram about a year ago, and I had started my Instagram. It's probably been a couple of years, I was probably 6 months to 8 months in when I started my Instagram, and just to share what I was doing on Instagram and hopefully share it with people. And then it turns out that the keto community on Instagram is quite large, and I've met lots of great people there, like yourself and other people I've talked to and helped out. And it's a great accountability tool for this way of life, because there's a lot of people out there that don't always necessarily do things the way you do, but you get to see how everyone's dealing with this journey.
Yeah, of course. That's one thing that I do love, is there's a level of accountability that comes with Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a small part of it that is kind of for show, I guess. I mean, it's going to be anything when you're just taking a snapshot of your daily life and
Mm-hmm.
posting it for everybody to see. There's always going to be that polished version of yourself, I'd imagine.
For sure.
That's one thing that I like about Instagram, that, or at least some of the people that I do follow on Instagram, that I do see behind that curtain sometimes, where they kind of pull that back and go, this is my progress. This is what it can look like with Instagram. And this is what kind of how it looks like to everybody else. There's an account that I follow. I had her on a couple episodes ago, and she did a post just like that, where she's posting like her results and like what it can look like if she's posing versus what it looks like if she's not. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was magnificent. I thought it was super brave for me. I mean, even for me, I've never posted any kind of like progress shots in that manner. Partially, like I told her, is I never liked having my picture taken. So there's not a lot of before pictures of me out there. There's
Mm-hmm.
maybe 20, maybe. They're not all that great. They're not like just me standing by myself. But I love the accountability that Instagram brings. I love the camaraderie that you find. I love the recipes, the food. And I love that you can kind of keep good company. I mean, it's the algorithm kind of messes up a little bit, because I'm sure I'm following people that I never see anything they post unless I go looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem, because I follow like 6,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's tons and tons of great content that I'm just not seeing, just partially because I can't spend that much time looking at Instagram and then the way the algorithm, curates my feed and all that stuff. So I'm lucky that your stuff shows up, her stuff shows up, and then there's, a list of about 20 other people that I see on a consistent basis. So that's probably the bulk of what I see. So it is kind of a tunnel vision, I guess, if you will, of what I see with Instagram. But I love that about it. And that's the reason I kind of wanted to start this as well, because then it gives me an opportunity to sit down and talk to people like you and her and various others to dig a little deeper, to see again behind that curtain of Instagram or even Twitter, whatever the case may be. Because I want to get to know people on a better level. I want to know who I am, who sees my stuff, the people that help keep me accountable.
Yep. Yeah. No, I completely agree. It's at least on Instagram, you do, a lot of people, and you're right. Yeah, you don't see all of the people you're following. You don't see what they're doing. And I'm sure that there's a big percentage of the people that you're following or are following you that just aren't even actually active on Instagram that much. But you get to see a lot of real life with a lot of people on Instagram that, multiple people every year are, they're willing to show their failures as well as their successes, which I think in a way helps as much, like we can all put up progress pictures. I posted one early in 2020 after doing keto for a year, and, it was inspirational to me, but I don't focus on that anymore either. And like, it's, I put up my, basically my food pictures, and if I find something inspirational, I'll share that as well. But I'm not really about focusing on me as much as just trying to put things up there that might help people. And this has been great with yourself and the other people, like the interviews that I've done with people I've met on Instagram. It's been great to get to know them. You think you sort of know them from Instagram, but once you start talking to them for an hour or so, then you really get to learn what their journey's been like. And it's great to share that with the people out there so that they can hopefully take something away from it and have a journey of their own.
I think it's so important because over the last year and a half, 2 years or so, I think we've sort of begun to see how we're not really interacting with each other in a meaningful way. There's a huge upside to social media, but one of the downsides of social media is we are interacting with so many people. We're only seeing such a small amount, especially with like Facebook and such like that. And here in the States with the elections and everything that goes on, I think that is a very divided kind of thing that I think social media doesn't necessarily intentionally cause, but I think it's human nature that drives it as well. And, obviously some marketing and stuff like that, but you end up kind of seeing only what you want to see.
Right.
And I think long form conversations like this, or sitting down and getting to know somebody and not just what you see about them on social media, is so important. I think we've lost touch with actually talking face to face or camera to camera, if you will, with people, and just kind of letting all those barriers fall down and just getting to know somebody, because I think we all have a lot more in common than I think we want to believe or we're capable at this point of believing. So
yeah, totally agree. It's it is tough to really get to know people on social media. And I personally, especially with my Instagram account, if people get heavy into politics or anything sort of divisive, then I just don't follow them anymore. I don't care what their content is, because that's not what I'm there for. I'm not to, people can have their own beliefs and that's fine. I'm not one to say what's right and what's wrong, but I don't get myself involved in it at all. I can scroll on by, but a lot of accounts I have found over time just get so heavy into topics other than keto, which is what I'm there for, that I just stop following them and just move on, I guess.
I've even noticed a lot of derogatory, like not necessarily keto, carnivore, but there's a lot of the carnivore community. I think they kind of go head to head with the vegans. And I don't know who started it or, who's really at fault there, but there's a lot of toxic stuff going on there that bothers me, because while I don't necessarily agree with someone being vegan, if someone's doing vegan correctly, they're going to be better off than they are with like the standard American diet, if you will. Same thing with carnivore. There's a lot of people who found a lot of great benefits health-wise by doing carnivore. There's people who found a lot of benefits with vegan, keto, paleo, Weight Watchers, even people who do Weight Watchers. If somebody is actively doing something to benefit themselves, even if it's not like keto, I follow tons and tons of Weight Watchers people. I follow VSG or the surgery. I just want to see people making an effort to better themselves, to see what are they doing, and not to be like, well, you should be doing keto. I may do that to my friends, and I'm sure some of my friends, get tired of hearing me say it, especially like on more private social media and such. My kids, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but my kids make jokes to me. Like my son one day goes, yeah, you know, you could have a flat tire and Dustin would be like, well, you wouldn't have that flat tire if you were keto. I'm like, I feel attacked. You got me. But I mean, because I don't want to be a zealot for keto, and I try not to be. I'm sure I fail at that. But what I look at is, even when people who don't necessarily agree with keto, I'm like, just whole foods, meats, eggs, cheese, vegetables, healthy fats. Try to avoid as much grain and sugar and processed garbage as you can. It may not be keto or whatever, but you're going to feel better in the long run. So that's my whole thing. Like, you don't have to be keto and look at ketones. I don't even really check my ketones that often. The strips are expensive, the blood strips, and they're expensive and all that. But I do from time to time. But I focus on how I feel, and that's what I try to instill in others. I'm like, if you can get past if you can get through it for a month or two, you're probably going to feel better. Then you'll want to keep doing it. But I mean, I don't know. And I'm sure your mileage is similar.
Yeah. I that's the way I look at it as well. I follow lots of people on Instagram that aren't keto, but they're just trying to make their life better, and, you know, fasting and the surgeries and Weight Watchers and all that. And like you say, it's not something I'd personally do. But that's not my journey, right? Like, if that's what it took for those people to get their health back, then that's really all that matters. You know, when people ask me what I do, most of the time I don't even say the word keto. It's basically just, I cut out all the processed crap from my diet, and I don't eat sugar and I don't eat grains, and that's basically where I leave it. And unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of people I've talked to about it that have decided to try it, but there's been a couple of people that have had some success on it, and it's really all you can do. Like, it's trying to beat it into people that they got to stop eating all this crap it's not worth your time. And until someone really wants to make a change, and until someone has a real reason to make a change, unfortunately, it just doesn't happen, I find.
So even like at my house, so I watch my granddaughter like 3 to 4 days a week. And so I'm responsible for most of her, when she's here, I'm responsible for feeding her and entertaining her and keeping up with her. Yeah. And she's 2.5. Well, she'll be 3 in August. And she is a little tornado. But one thing that we haven't been the typical grandparents, and I'm probably sure you're probably going to end up telling me you're the same way, maybe, but we don't give her the candy, we don't give her chips and all that stuff. Now, sometimes it'll come with her in a little baggie or whatever. Like one day, she showed up with a bag of snacks that I had given her on the way home the day before. I had put in some like wisps and cheese, like the cheese cracker wrist, like just the baked cheese things,
right? With
some. She doesn't care about flavors if they mix too much, so I had those in there. I had some the Italian seasoned almonds that you can get from Costco, just various stuff like that, just nuts, cheese, and then she came back with what was left of what I gave her, with a whole bunch of like little mini M&Ms. Yeah, so I just tossed out the trash and then started over. So when she's here, she loves eggs and she loves hot dogs. I mean, like any kid, small or big, loves hot dogs. Sure. And so I keep those in the house for her. Like yesterday, we had her for a little while. She was really tired and cranky, hungry. So I made her 2 eggs and a hot dog. She ate about half of it. And then she was happy. But she's always asking for eggs. I mean, she talks about chocolate and cake and stuff like that. But I mean, she's a kid. So she knows McDonald's. And I have stopped and got her French fries or whatever. I mean, she's 2. Yeah. So, but I don't try to make that an everyday or all the time thing, just like I wouldn't do it for myself. So I wouldn't do it for her either. I want to make sure that she's set up for what she needs later. So, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like when somebody says, well, this and this and this run in my family, typically what it means is, well, they taught me to eat this way, the same way they ate. So therefore it caused the same stuff that they have as well.
Right.
Now that may be a little controversial, but that's just kind of how a simplified Dustin dumbs it down kind of way.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more evident that that's the way it's been going. Like if you look back generations, when you had generations that were not afraid of lard and and healthy fats, a lot of these diseases weren't there, and then it just started creeping in where you get into the polyunsaturated fats and all the processed foods and the sugar and all that. And then you're right, it's just generation after generation is going down the same path, and the diseases that go along with it are following them. My grandson is he's going to be 4 this year, so there's lots of things he likes that I definitely, it's not something I would eat, but I'm not going to say he can't have like an apple or an orange or something like that. He likes fruit, and I keep the one thing he likes. Anytime he comes over here, he goes straight to the fridge and he pulls out. Like, I keep the small pepperoni slices, so he'll plow through a whole bag of those in a day if he's here, if I let him. So, which I'm not going to stop him from eating things like that. So.
Yeah,
all you can do is your best, and it's until they get old enough that you can take them aside and say, well, you don't want to eat this, right?
Yeah, that's like the same thing. I buy like the huge giant bags of string cheese from Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 36 in there, and I'll get 2 of those. My son will eat 1 package by himself within like a day or 2 or whatever, even though I end up finding half the package in his room on the floor, not eaten.
Mm-hmm.
But he's 17. I don't know what I can do about that, but because telling him no food in his room
mm-hmm.
for as long as he's been alive, or as long as I've been in his life, I should say, no food, no drinks in your room. But there's always, Diet Coke bottles in there, and there's string cheese in there, and stuff he gets out of my office, because I usually keep some sodas in my office.
Mm-hmm.
But he comes in here and gets my sodas from my fridge or whatever. But that's why at least I try to keep the house stocked full of stuff that if he does eat the entire thing, it's not going to be awful for him.
Right. Yeah. And that's, I think ultimately that's the only way to keep anyone on track. Like it's like for myself, my wife's not keto. She doesn't eat a lot of processed foods, but she still has like her some food in the house for herself that I don't eat. So it's kind of it's always a temptation for me. Like, I know one of the first steps that a lot of people say you should take when you start keto is to purge the house of anything that is going to be a trigger for you. And I agree, that's a great idea. But if everybody, like not everybody in your household is actually going to follow keto, it's definitely pretty hard. So I basically have a shelf in the pantry where I keep all my stuff aside, and then space in the fridge for my like pepperoni sticks and slices and all that stuff. But thankfully I was able to get through that first 6 months or so and get over the cravings and the temptations of chips and stuff like that to no longer. I just eat pork rinds now, and that's good enough for me. So.
I don't know if they're in Canada yet, but there's like this wild brand. They're like these chicken chips. They have like buffalo, and they have a jalapeno one that I haven't been able to find in a long time. They have a sea salt. They have like a Nashville hot and like a salt and vinegar. So they're basically like potato chips, but they're made out of chicken. And there's a tapioca starch in it as well, which I was a little hesitant about at first. Then I kind of saw that video that Serious Keto did on the tapioca starch, I think it was, and how it didn't really impact him all that much. So I've been a little more free with those, I guess. Not free because I mean they're like $4 or $5 for a little bag, so they're expensive. But they just started selling them at Walmart. Before you had to go to Fresh Time. Was like Fresh Time is a store here that's kind of like a regular grocery store mixed with a Whole Foods. So it's not quite like a Whole Foods. It's like a less expensive version of Whole Foods, I guess. It's kind of half owned by a company or a store here called Meijer.
Yeah, I've been to Meijer's.
But they're really good. I mean, they kind of give that chip. You can dip them in dip and stuff like that. So we kind of keep those in the house from time to time. They're a little higher on the carb scale. But I mean, if you want some chips or you want something like that, then they're great.
I don't think I've seen any of that of what you're talking about. I haven't seen that in Canada yet. I don't know. It takes forever for any of the stuff that you guys see down there to work its way up here. Like there's still only one of the keto ice creams you can get up here, and I can't remember. It's the Enlightened Keto brand. We can't get Rebel. We can't get any of the other brands. None of them sell it in Canada, which I don't understand. Like there's such a market here that, and they still don't sell any of that at Walmart here. It's just kind of frustrating sometimes, but especially
you would think that there would be a Canadian company kind of trying to bring that to market. You
would think it's, there are quite a few Canadian companies that are starting to produce products that are good, clean keto products, but it's I think it's a lot of, and I get it, like an American company like Rebel or some of those companies that have to try and jump through the hoops that they need to get through to start selling in Canada. That can be tough. Like I know Robert Sykes has talked about wanting to be able to sell, like distribute the keto bricks in Canada, like actually sell them in Canada instead of just shipping them here. And he said there's so much to go through that obviously it has to not be so expensive to do that you lose all your profits. So it might get there eventually, but yeah, even the pork rinds here, it's very limited as far as the type you get. The one brand of pork rinds that I've been eating for 2 years just released like a spicy version here. But and they're good and the carbs aren't too bad, but the ingredients aren't great. It's got maltodextrin in it and it's got MSG in it, and all the typical things you see in some of the cheaper products. But when you don't have a choice, if that's all there is, I don't get them very often, but yeah, the regular plain pork rinds is what I use. And Quest chips. Quest chips aren't really all that good either as far as ingredients go, but I don't mind the taste and the texture on them. So
yeah, I tried them and I didn't much care for the texture. They were kind of like powdery.
Yeah. Well, they're a protein chip, right?
Yeah.
So there's basically protein that's been formed into a chip. And, like I say, given the alternative, it's, I keep a few small bags in the house just in case I want to have munch on something at night, or if I'm going out, if we go out with friends or something, then I'll bring some of that stuff so that I'm not tempted to eat any of the tables full of chips and chocolate bars and stuff that are usually at parties. So.
Yeah, I was so another friend of mine from Instagram had posted the other day that she had on one of her stories that she had kind of had 6 Oreos and a bowl of Rice Krispies. And how I was and I made the joke because she's Canadian also. And I made the joke, I was well, at least you didn't go on a week-long Little Debbie bender. And she didn't know what Little Debbie's were.
Oh yeah.
So I had to send her a picture of what all they have, the honey buns and all that stuff. Because those are everywhere here. I mean, they have aisles full of that stuff here. So I think that's the kind of fun stuff that I like about getting to know people like from Canada or Australia, the weird little things that like I take for granted, like like just saying like Little Debbie. I mean, you may know what they are, but she didn't know what they were, which I thought was funny. Just like, I just happen to know like what Tim Hortons is, or, I commented that one day on that video that I was on, I think was it the video that we did together where you were wearing the hip shirt?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The Tragically Hip. Yeah. I never had listened to that band, but a friend of mine grew up and was born in Canada, in Toronto, near Toronto. And, because I met him in high school. He was like my freshman, or I think it was my freshman year I met him. And he would talk about the hip, and he would be like, yeah, like in Canada, they'll sell out stadiums multiple nights in a row, but then come down to the States and play like tiny, tiny little venues because nobody knows who they are down here.
Yeah, they were definitely a Canadian band. They just actually, last week they released a new album, even though like the lead singer, Gord, he died a couple of years back there. It's been quite a few years now. But they had had 6 unreleased tracks from a tour years ago. So they dropped that as an album. So that was surprising. I didn't even know that was coming, and then I just heard it the one night. So they're an interesting band, but yeah, they're definitely, all their songs are sort of focused on Canadian life kind of thing. So
yeah, I listened to a couple tracks and I thought they were a lot lighter than I thought they would be. More mellow, I guess. Yeah,
they're pretty laid back. If you get into some of their older stuff, it's a little. The lead singer, he was a unique person for sure. Like he'd get on stage and he'd just ramble, and whatever was going through his mind that's what came out in the song. So it's I like them, but yeah, you're right. They're not. They didn't have much exposure outside of Canada, which is one of those phenomenons where, same thing. I don't think it really happens in the reverse. Like pretty much any popular American band is going to be popular in Canada as well. But
yeah, I'm heavily invested in music. So I'm even in the works of trying to get a music YouTube channel started as well. I've got everything ready to go. I just got to start lining up, the podcast like this with music people. I have friends and all kinds of things that I want to talk to. I actually do a semi-regular podcast like this with a friend of mine that lives up near Chicago, where we talk to musicians, we talk to people who write articles about musicians and music and such. I mean, I've been involved with music for a lot of my life, and there's a lot of awesome bands that live and come from this state where I'm from, and even the area that I'm from. Most of the stuff that I'm into is heavier in nature, obviously, but very aggressive, heavy music. So worlds away from like the Tragically Hip and stuff like that. But but I mean,
yeah, I've listened to mostly any kind of music my whole life. Led Zeppelin is probably my favorite band, but I don't listen to country all that often. But I've been to the Megadeth concerts, and I've been to Alice Cooper.
I fell asleep during them one time.
Yeah, back in the sort of late 90s, growing up in the Toronto area there, we basically, there'd be a concert every weekend in Toronto. So you just didn't really matter who it was, just buy tickets and go, go see Ozzy Osbourne or Black Sabbath or, Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, all those concerts. Right. So, and back when concert tickets weren't $250, right?
They're only about to get worse.
No, I know.
because everybody's itching to go to concerts. Was it that I don't know, maybe you remember, but wasn't the Metallica Guns N' Roses show where like they tore the stadium up? Wasn't that in Toronto in the 80s? Where James Hetfield like walked into the flames and like had to go to the hospital, and then Guns N' Roses came out and walked off stage like a song later, and then everybody went nuts.
No, I think I can't remember what it was that happened there, because I think that happened before. Yeah, like Hetfield got burned up in a flash pot or something, but that happened like 2 weeks before I was supposed to see them.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was in Canada, but I don't think it was in Toronto. And then that concert got postponed. I did eventually see Metallica with Guns N' Roses and all that, but I don't think that happened in Toronto. I think the riot one is when there was some guy taking pictures of Axl Rose in the front row or something. Like he was media even, and Axl jumped off the stage and tackled the guy, and then the whole stadium went nuts. So that Guns N' Roses went from when I first saw them the first time, they opened up for Iron Maiden, and they were a great band. Like they were way better than Iron Maiden in that concert. Then the last time I saw them was with Metallica in Toronto, and they were just garbage. So I don't know. It was a shame what happened to that group, really. So.
I got to see. I've never seen Guns N' Roses. I've seen Iron Maiden twice, and I've seen Metallica twice. Even though the second time I saw Metallica was and it was in Kentucky. It was a summer sanitarium tour in like 2001. 2000. I can't remember. It was 2000, 2001. One of those years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they played this huge speedway in Texas, and James Hetfield wasn't there.
Not really.
He didn't play the show.
Jeez. So
like Jason Newsted was still in the band at the time, and he sang a song with them. Kid Rock was on the bill. He came out and sang. Like Surge from System of a Down came out and sang. And I think even Spider Zombie, which is Rob Zombie's brother, who's in Power Man 5000, came out and sang a song with him as well. I mean, this is 20 plus years ago, so I don't necessarily fully remember everybody that came out, but yeah. But that was an interesting thing. It was like one of the last bastions with Jason Newsted still in the band, and then it being a show where James Hetfield didn't play. So
yeah,
I love
that. Interesting. Stuff. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So what, where you are now, where do you see yourself modifying what you're doing now? Or do you think you're pretty well set with how your keto or your health lifestyle? Do you think it's kind of set in stone, or do you think you may try new things or try to modify things at all?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like at this point, it's kind of, again, I always find myself slipping a little bit and getting into more of and I guess my biggest problem is snacking. I'd like to get back to more just eating meals and less snacking. I've tried to this year, the last 5 months or so, to expand my eating window so that I'm not eating so much in such a short period of time. So I've been, like with my job, it's been years of not eating anything during the day, like never eating lunch, because a lot of times with my job, I'm just trying to get through the day, and I have a deadline of things or time I need to get things done. So half the time I wouldn't even take a break during the day, which I've realized is probably part of my health problems from years ago. So this year I've been, every day taking time to actually eat lunch and then eat a dinner. But I slip into I'm, hanging around working on videos or watching TV, and then I feel like having a snack. So like, I don't go and reach for the cookies or chips or anything, but I think unfortunately, it adds up quicker than anybody really realizes. So if anything, I'd like to try and get back in the mentality of just eating meals. And then I probably drop a few pounds doing that. But again, like I said earlier, it's not keto it quickly didn't, or it wasn't about the weight for me. It was at the beginning, obviously. But after the first year, it was basically about how I felt and how I could, interact with my grandson, and I feel great, and that doesn't mean I'm not going to change anything, but I'm definitely going to be low carb or keto or whatever it is for the rest of my life. Like I don't see that changing, because to me, the instant gratification of, having those cookies or chips or any of that it's not worth it to me to feel like garbage the next day or the days following. So, I find myself more and more carnivore-ish, I guess, as the years go by, but I still eat some vegetables, and just because I like them. I don't know that they do any good for me, but I eat asparagus and broccoli and cauliflower and stuff like that. So I think that's where it's going for me. I'd like to get more exercise outside of what I do. Like, I have a pretty active job, so it's not like I'm sitting all day or anything. So I do get a lot of exercise during the day, but I'd like to get into more, maybe even get back into the gym once they actually open in Canada, and then start to get some muscle back on as well. So that's pretty much where it's at, and I guess we'll see where it goes in the future.
Yeah, I like to play around with things within a certain parameter. So I like to fast. I'm probably going to be doing a 7-day fast somewhere between my wife's birthday and my birthday. We're about 19 days apart. So, so probably a day or two after her birthday, and ending it, a week or so before my birthday, or something like that. I like to fast like that at least a couple times a year. I like to play around with what I'm eating or when I eat during the day to kind of get an idea of how do I feel because of it. I do have an issue with snacking. That's like one of my biggest things. Just like if I'm working, if I'm doing this, or if I'm editing videos, or if I'm doing anything that's occupying my brain fully, then I'm totally not in need of any kind of snacking or anything like that. We sit down to watch a TV show, my wife and I, or my son and I, or whatever like that. I'm like, okay, what do we have to snack? What do we have? Do I have pork rinds? Do I have Quest bars? Do I have, the chips? Do I have whatever? And then it becomes difficult to sit down and watch TV without putting something in my face.
Right.
Now I know better. I know I'm going to feel better if I don't, but it's that instant gratification for me. And I'm sure it's the same thing for you. It's like, it feels good at the time. And then, like, if I have a Quest bar or two, then the next morning I wake up and I'm like a little sluggish getting out of bed. I'm like, oh, why did I do that? It's almost like having like one too many drinks.
Yep.
You're just like, oh, why do I do this to myself?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you tell yourself you're not going to do it. And then the next night you're sitting on the couch eating Quest bars again.
Yeah.
It's definitely there's a mental part to that as well, and, I know we've talked about it before. It's, if you can't get past those mental hurdles on any lifestyle, it's really difficult to stick to anything.
And I know I did really well when I first started with the ketogenic lifestyle. So I went I remember the first time I had any kind of treat. We found it was before Halo Top, it was before Enlightened, it was before all that stuff. There was a brand of ice cream, or still is. It's like So Delicious or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a no sugar added vanilla, like coconut milk ice cream.
Right.
And we had some of that. And we found some like like no sugar or low sugar, like whipped cream. And we used the sugar-free Hershey's chocolate syrup. We made little sundaes. We had been doing it for months and months and months. So this was like the first time having anything sweet. And I remember like it just made my brain explode. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I can't believe we haven't been doing this more.
Right.
Hindsight, should have done that.
Yeah.
But I don't know I wonder though, like, is like getting up and kind of feeling sore a little bit, but you're still not needing medication, still not, being as overweight as I used to be. I still have some progress to make in that arena, but for some enjoyment, I mean, is there, so I know there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, on a fundamental level, I guess there is, but I mean, because I don't like feeling like crap when I wake up in the morning. But at the same time, I get that enjoyment from watching TV and having whatever said snack is. I don't know. I think that's the distinction in my brain, because it's not drugs. It's not alcohol. I'm not smoking cigarettes. I'm not eating a plate of brownies. I'm not eating the whole package of Oreos. I think there's that disconnect there that I was able to break at first, that snowballed back into place as these more keto friendly options come to market. And I guess we're just as susceptible to those as we were with the old lifestyle, I guess. So I'm not sure where I'm trying to get at there, but like,
yeah, I agree. Like, you're right. It's like, I know you've been keto, what, a couple years longer than I have. So I'm sure at first there wasn't as many of the branded keto products out there. And even when I started, there wasn't a lot. Like, it was hard to find anywhere in the town that I live in that had anything, and nothing was branded keto. It was just, you had to look at the ingredients and you're like, okay, well, this is low carb and there's no bad ingredients in it, so let's give it a try. But now, like, there's a actual keto store in town, and they stock all of the Quest stuff and the ice creams, and they make their own bakery goods. They carry some of the breads and all that. But yeah, like, you wind up, yes, you've shifted what you're eating, but I think you fall back into that same pattern that got you to where you weren't happy with life to begin with, I guess.
Even with things like, there was like a week or two period where I was taking like a little onion. Mm-hmm. And onions are kind of carby, but I was like blitzing it up real, like almost just before it gets to like a mush, right? Just like really finely chopped in like a little like blitz, little food processors that I have. And I would fry that up with some butter and a skillet. And then I would mix in my eggs and scramble that together. And I would eat that. That would be like one of the meals that I would have during the day. And it was so good. But I'm thinking, like, that's a whole onion worth of carbs that I don't need. But I'm like, but it's so tasty.
Yeah. Yeah. It is one of those things where you have to, like, I think it comes back again to the mental side of it. Like, can you, for some people, bringing anything back into the lifestyle that might be, get you onto that slippery slope of getting back into old habits, doing any of that can really ruin what you've tried to do in the past. Like myself, I I had to quickly learn that I can't moderate things. It's, it's either all or nothing with me. I have to basically abstain from anything remotely, like I don't eat anything with sugar in it. I don't I don't even eat like beef jerky or something like that, or pepperettes, or if it's got sugar on the label, I just don't buy it. And I know just because it says there's sugar there doesn't mean there's a lot of it there, but I just know for me, as far as my personality goes, I just have to say no. And and that doesn't mean I don't from time to time eat things that have questionable ingredients. Like I eat bars and Quest chips and stuff like that, and we all know that they're just hyper palatable low carb food. The same
And they don't
way
even
that,
really taste that great.
No, I know, and that's what kind of gets me with a lot of people, and that go down the like the meal replacement shakes and stuff like that. They're just a low carb, hyper palatable processed food.
But they've got such a like on those, for me, like the aftertaste, or even just the taste in general, not good. Like now the do you guys have Bolt House Farms in Canada?
We do. You know what? I think we are starting to see that in Walmart, but I don't think they're carrying the keto versions yet. So
yeah, there's still, I think, 3 places where we can get them. Not Walmart. Walmart carries the Bolt House Farms, but they don't carry the keto yet. But we can get them from Kroger, Meijer, and Fresh Time. And I try to avoid them. I mean, I know we did a video review of those.
Yep.
Though sometimes my brain, when we go to the store, I'll look at see how much they are, and sometimes they'll be buy one get one free, or buy one and get one for $1. And then my brain is like, okay, let's buy like 6 of them.
Yeah.
And I know, and I get it's part of it is justifying the fact that, well, this is better than the Oreos. This is better than buying the Snicker bar. And I know there's that minute justification that goes through our heads. And I know, I'm just trying to figure out. I mean, it comes down to, am I happy with it, or would I be happier without it? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's such a personal thing too. Like you can't, and I don't think anybody can go through life not having, something that makes you feel good periodically. Would I feel better just eating ground beef and butter and steak and stuff like that? Yeah, I feel great just that if that's all I eat. I feel better than I ever do if it's just ground beef and hamburgers and steak and some chicken wings and stuff like that. I feel amazing just eating that. But you have to live too. That's where I sort of justify some of the treats that I have. The problem is going back to being able to moderate those kind of things. It's like, because you fall back into that, well, I had 1 bar, so I might as well have another one. It can't hurt anything now kind of mentality, right? So you're, and then you just fall right back into that. Now you've plowed through a whole box of bars and ate half a jar of peanut butter. It might be natural peanut butter, but you're still eating way more than you should, right? So,
I was thinking, I know in July we're going on vacation with the whole family. So we've got a condo, a 3-bedroom condo. We're going to be on the beach, and we went there last year. And there's a pizza place that we found, and I mean, obviously, I do my best to stay 90% on plan, 75% on plan while on vacation. So I know that we're probably going to have pizza at least once or twice for dinner. We're going to be there like a week. And I know on the way home, I'm going to want to get Whataburger because we don't have those here. And I know that here, like at home, fast food doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
Outside of maybe Chick-fil-A. But I mean, I've never been a huge fan of McDonald's or any of that stuff. Like I've gone years without having any of that stuff, and that doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
But like, like knowing that, well, I don't have an In-N-Out, I don't have a Whataburger within 1,000 miles of me or In-N-Out burger, Whataburger, whatever, within, 1,000 miles. So on the way home from Alabama, we'll stop and I'll get that. Right. And because we did that last year, and that stuff like French fries, when you haven't had French fries in like a couple of years, those things are delicious.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And I know that it's like that weird justification. Well, I'm on vacation and I'm this and I'm that. And I know that that's a slippery slope because I was just in Dallas a couple of weeks ago and I had Whataburger at the airport before boarding my flight.
Yeah.
But I did, I had In-N-Out burger one night, but I did I went to the store and got just the keto stuff for me. And I, easily stuff that I have to dirty a lot of dishes and all that stuff. But I think the lifestyle lends itself to a certain amount of, at least for me, the lifestyle lends itself to a great deal of restraint where I didn't have much restraint back before.
Right.
I was going to Dairy Queen every other day, bringing home blizzards and dilly bars. And I was bringing home half gallons of ice cream and packages of Oreos. Like if I knew my wife wasn't going to be in a bad mood that day, I made sure there was a package of Oreos there for her.
Right.
Then we would share them while we watched TV. So it is a huge improvement. So I still think that it's still a win, but it's still not exactly where I want to be.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's as long as you're, in a better place than you were when you started. I guess it all comes down to, I can't just eat something like that once. If I was to have something that I don't usually eat, it's one of those things where, and the worst part of it is when you have it once, and I've found this in the past, is you have it once and you don't really, the next day, I feel pretty good. It didn't really affect me, so maybe I can have it again, and then the once a month thing turns into once a week, and then it's twice a week. And, that's just the way I'm wired, I guess. So even when we go on vacation and we go places, then I usually try and stay as clean as I can. Now, there has been times where, I've had things like chicken wings and stuff like that that were a little suspect, but,
that's happened to me before.
Yeah. I'm not going to worry too much about it. So.
Because I remember I went out with some friends and I ordered the chicken wings, but before I order the chicken wings, I'm like, are these breaded? And the waitress was like, no, they're not breaded. And then after I got them, I'm like, those wings were breaded. And she tried to argue with me. I'm like, no, they were breaded.
Yeah.
I mean, but
like, even if you're getting unbreaded chicken wings, 99% of the time they're tossed in flour anyways before they fry them, even if they're not breaded. So it's hard to get real unbreaded like chicken wings, but like I say, that's pretty much the limit to what I'll just have without worrying about, kind of thing, I guess. So
I was going to tell you, I know you may have saw the picture on Instagram, but yesterday I recorded a video that I'll edit and put up this coming week that a vegan friend of mine has been bugging me for a long time to make these raw vegan pecan like taco meat.
No, really? No, I didn't see that one. I'll have to look for that.
I haven't posted it, but I recorded the video last night. Then I had, Shannon and I sat down to try them out. Now, they didn't taste like meat necessarily. They weren't bad. They were actually far tastier than I was anticipating. But so what I took is basically what you do is you just take like the pecans and you soak them in water and liquid aminos for a couple of hours. And you strain that off and put them in a food processor. I put them in there with some tomatillo and some peppers, some green chilies. And I put a little bit of this. So I'm always looking for the packet, like the seasoning packs, like the taco and all that different stuff at the grocery store. Yeah. And there was one I found, and I'll post a picture up when I'm making when I post the video, because I can't remember the name of the brand because it's not a normal like Pace or any of that stuff, Old El Paso or any of those. But it was 0 carbs per serving per the packet. And it was a carnita seasoning packet. It was for pork, but I figured, well, this will do what I'm trying to do because, I'm not using pork or beef, so it doesn't really matter. Sure. And it was really clean. I imagine, the rule of thumb with that kind of stuff is it's probably a half or better. So it was like 14 servings, so it was probably 7 carbs for the entire package. I used about half the package. It's like 3.5 carbs. So really not bad for a seasoning packet when there's usually, 14 servings in a container and they're like 5 grams of carb per serving. Yeah. So I did use like these, the low carb tortillas now, like at our Walmart, they're selling these smaller ones, like a little snack size. So I had like 2 of those with that last night, trying them out. I did use real cheese. I didn't use vegan cheese because that stuff just watch the video. Very colorful description of what vegan cheese is like to me. But yeah. But yeah, I just thought it was fun. I like trying things like that out. And then I made I didn't post any pictures of it on Instagram yet. But I bought these little silicone molds. They're about that deep. They're about that big around. They're about the size of a chaffle. Okay. And so I got 2 of them because they came in a pack of 2. So there's 12, which makes 4 breakfast sandwiches. So like you can do so in 8 of them, you put the batter for the bottom of the top bun. So it was like just cheese, almond flour, a little pecan meal, and some baking powder. So pretty simple. And then I put these little frozen they're about this big around. They're about the same size as a chaffle. These little frozen sausage patties you can get at Walmart. And then an egg in each one of those. So those 4 sausage patties, 4 eggs, and then the batter that I made for the bread. And I baked them. And when I edit the video and get it up, you'll see I was not very bright. I should have put the mold that had the egg in it on the little cooking tray before I filled it up. Oh, yeah. I was trying to lift it up, and it was trying to run all over the place. Yeah. But yeah, and that came out really well in the video. We did a taste test of that stuff too. So you'll see that. Just little things like that. I'm going to try to steer away from the keto snacks for a while, like testing the keto snacks and the ice creams and stuff for a while. I'm going to do more cooking. Like, I see how many people are buying and spending so much money on cold brew coffee. Yeah. That I filmed the first part of a cold brew coffee instructional on how I make it. Right. Then I've got it in the fridge, like brewing. And then when it's done, I'll make the second half of the video. But yeah, just stuff like that. I think if I can maintain that kind of content and I can continue to do this, like I already told you who I'm talking to next week, that'll be awesome. But, so I think if I can do that, then I can hopefully be a little more accountable for myself. And if I can just not buy the keto sweets and snacks, then I'll be better off. And I think that'll be a bigger win. And then, And if you see me posting, yell at me.
Yeah. That's one of those you know, those things is that, like, even on my channel, I've the video I have that had the most views was just a product review, right? So, and I understand it, like that's what a lot of people want to see, but you're right. But then you have to have that stuff in the house, and then it's just there to tempt you the whole time. So I think that's why I've sort of started to shift my channel away from, you know, specific keto, you know, videos, and more just into, you know, I'm just trying to come up with things that I do in everyday life that I can post videos about. And, you know, I may still do some more interviews like this with other people from Instagram, because I think it does help the community to have real conversations out there of what people are going through. Then we can use a platform that's there to help as many people as we can, right?
That's what I want to do. Like, I want to use this platform to not only showcase like what Instagram on Instagram, you see like the polished end result of things. And I think with my YouTube and doing these kind of talks, you can kind of see, and I know we talked about it earlier in our conversation, but just show like the real life reality of what we go through, and talk about, you know, the things that make us stumble, the things that make us not as successful as we may want to be, or we're aiming for, because we are human. We do make mistakes. And I think that knowing that even someone like me who is posting on Instagram and making YouTube videos, that I still struggle with the day-to-day like everybody else.
Right. Yeah. And I think when it comes down to it, when I first started my channel too, I think I was spending too much time trying to put forward that, you know, that perfect image kind of thing, and the perfect videos. And, you know, I wasn't really happy with what it was turning into. So we say I'm going to do a live stream on Monday and hopefully reboot things and try and get into figuring out what it is I'm going to do with my channel. I think Instagram will just stay Instagram. It's I'll just keep posting the same stuff I've always posted there. That'll be focused on keto, but I think YouTube, you know, obviously is going to have some keto influence as well, but I don't think it's going to be my main focus or my entire focus going forward. So we'll see what happens, I guess.
And I'll put links to your Instagram, and I'll put links to your YouTube channel in the comments below, both here on YouTube as well as on Anchor. And I don't know if it'll translate over to Spotify or not, but I'll put all that over with the audio only, as well as here on YouTube if you're watching this. So I just want to say thanks, Jason. I mean, it means a lot to me that you take the time, get up early in the morning and speak with me for an hour. I mean, I really do appreciate that. And I enjoy seeing everything that you do on Instagram, and knowing that you're just like me and you have the same struggles and, you know, grandparents and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. No, it's been great talking with you again. You know, it's always good to catch up and, you know, go through everybody's story, and we'll have to do it again at some point. And I'm definitely looking forward to some of the guests you have coming up on the podcast here. It'll be great to see that for sure.
Well, as always, thank you so very much, everybody. If you found value in this content, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you later.